Okay, I'm Beck Lane, and this is Studio 120, and once again, here is my double panel double portrait piece of couple on their wedding day. Uh, what I've been tackling the past few days is this suit, or actually since the beginning, because it has been, well, he's been all over the place. He was really wide, way too tall, but it's mainly been an issue, the suit itself, because it's just been this block of dark. So over the past few days, what I did was I went in and reflected the light that was hitting his suit in different areas, trying to find creases and just ways to give it more dimension. It wasn't working out. It was gloss on top of gloss, and I got really frustrated with it because I don't want to just add paint to add paint and to keep correcting without any intention or any real direction. So what I did was yesterday I took Transparent Earth Red by Gamblin Artist Colors, Transparent Earth Red, and Payne's Gray by Gamblin as well, and mixed it with straight mineral spirits and brushed over the top so that I removed all that gloss and also removed some of the paint because it was just too heavy. And I give it a really flat feel. It still has a little bit of blue, it still has a little bit of gray, it still has a little bit of highlight here and there and some darkness where there are some creases, but it's not this giant gesture to the suit, which I find pretty, it's pretty engaging. It pulls you in, but not in a really great way. So I flattened it out. What I've been doing today is working on pulling the images of the flowers in and the vines, which I'm using to help express their joy of the day, their wedding day, and express their marriage and it growing and their love and the time and, the reblossoming every year of their marriage and love for one another, something like that. But I've been, instead of adding more and more and more flowers and covering him in this gigantic flower bed, I'm now taking Payne's Gray, a little bit of blue, and Neo McGilp, and coming in with a thin brush and kind of adding little doodads, little flowers, little shapes here and there within the suit, so I can cut it up. I think you can see some of it shining out. It's catching the light and it's reflecting, whereas the mineral spirits in the paint in the background are flat. Now I'm playing with light the way I really like to do, putting gloss on top of super flat so we can get something else to look at. And I'm just going to move over and cover a suit because it's driving me crazy. Excuse me for a sec. So let's take a sec and say hello to my grandson because I want to do a Maxwell minute, and just remind him, if you'll help me remind him, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, Max, how much I love you. Please don't take my Maxwell away. It's a little bit of a maudlin song, so I think we might switch over to something else at one point in time, but I just sent him a music box that plays You Are My Sunshine, and he was cranking it. His little 2-year-old hands, he was cranking it. He stopped. It started to play, and he was beaming, and he stopped, and he went, yay! Just the sweetest little man. The sweetest, kindest little man. What a love bug. But anyway, Maxwell, I'm thinking of you. We're all thinking of you. I'm also thinking of changing the song over to one from Captain's Courageous, starring Spencer Tracy. Hey ho, little fish, don't cry, don't cry. It's a song that I've loved my entire life, and I've been thinking about changing the lyrics and adapting it to Max. But we've done our Maxwell minute, so I want to move on to an addendum. Yesterday, I made a video talking about race and inclusion or exclusion, and why I use teals and blues instead of browns, or in this one I have used Caucasian colors, but not wholly Caucasian colors, but I tend to mix in blues and teals to remove race from the subject. But I really wanted to add this addendum because yesterday I talked about how it's not my place to decide which color brown is the right color brown for my African American black and brown figures and portraits. And I want to expand on it and be a little bit more clear. It's not something I'm used to talking about, so I don't always find the right words, or they come out clumsy, and then later I go, oh, you should have said this. It's like when you had an argument with someone and you walk away and you go, oh, why didn't I say that? That's what I really meant. This isn't an argument. It's a discussion on race and representation in the arts. It's race and representation in the arts, race, gender, inequality in the art system. And what I really wanted to say was something that rolls around in my head all the time. As a 57-year-old white lady, again, it's not my place to decide what color brown this little girl that I'm painting should be, or anyone of African American descent, or anyone of any non-white race, what color they should be, because it took me a long time to really understand this. But over the past 10 or so years, it's really dawned on me, and I've had to be schooled. I've had to learn that the white race, and specifically my relatives who hopped off the Mayflower, some of them, we have defined people who don't look like us forever. Since the first slave ship hit, docked, I think it was in North Carolina in 1619, and 20 to 30, I thought it was 19, but 20 or 16, 20 to 30, not funny, enslaved people were kidnapped, tortured, killed, and sold. Since that day, as Americans, that we started buying other people like cattle, we have been defining them. We have been defining the countries that we enter and take under our control. Anyone that we've basically discriminated against or used as pawns to serve our purpose, we have been defining them, what they look like, who they are. We give them their characteristics. We give them the other. As we've talked about many times in the past few years in this country, we've defined them as the other, and we find the most horrible ways to illustrate or express people. And so basically, I don't think it's my place to define a brown person's color. Which color brown is right? Which one is correct? I'm far more comfortable doing Caucasian people. That I feel I have somewhat of a right to do in a way. But because historically we have decided who these other people are, I don't want to add to that. The decision of the correct colors brown is up to other artists, African American artists, black and brown artists, Latinx artists. Excuse me, I'm nervous because I just don't express this enough, and I'm trying not to make a misstep in what I say or think. I find it insulting when white people define the brown as being correct, because we misused it for so long. We misrepresented, and whitewash isn't the right word, but used a broad brush on a people that we have tried to control and manipulate and use for hundreds of years. So I feel it's inappropriate for me to add to that history. So what I do is say, let's find another topic of conversation in the portrait, in the figure work. I'm not meaning to take away from the importance of showing African American, black, brown figures in my work. Not meaning to take away from it at all. I want white people to see everyone who isn't white in a new way, in a different way. And for us to stop labeling. If we think back, and it's really not been that long, if we think back, illustrations of black and brown people were some of the most horrible images created. Horrible, horrible images created. Not just in the Jim Crow South, but in advertising up through our 60s, things I remember from the 60s, giving a complete misrepresentation of an entire race of people. In the 1800s, right up through, trying to think, the 30s, 40s, other people would know better than me, but black people, black and brown people were illustrated as, and I hate to say this, but monkeys, or with totally black face and white lips. And I don't want to add to that. I feel one of the best things I can do is remove my judgment of which color brown is right, or mulatto. I know that's the wrong word. That's the wrong word. But which color brown? A chocolate brown, a light coffee brown, which color brown is the right one for my people, the people that I paint? So instead, I use teals and blues. A little bit of transparent earth red, but teals and blues. I'm sure I'll have an addendum for the addendum for the addendum later, because I turned the camera on and got very, very nervous. I'm not always good at expressing myself. And sometimes having the conversation out loud is scary. Acknowledging racism, acknowledging how we add to racism in art without knowing it is very, very frightening. What I can promise to do is to learn, to listen, to really listen, and to continue to try to understand how our black and brown sisters and brothers feel. I'll never fully understand, but I can listen and then do what I can to help make us less separate. I was insulted today on Twitter. Someone, I was tweeting with someone and she said, I don't give a shit, liberal. Well, she was tweeting at me. She was like, I don't give a shit, liberal. And the term liberal is meant to insult and denigrate. And it doesn't really work, because the definition for being liberal is having a moral compass. Empathy, or a basic definition is having a moral compass, empathy, and being able to see yourself in others. So that's what I clapped back at her. I'm very happy to be called a liberal because of the definitions of it. So what I will try to do, whoops, sorry, battery. What I will try to do is add my liberal voice and try and see, feel, and try my best to understand how people who have been targeted for hundreds of years feel, and try not to add to the hatred and the misunderstanding that my people, actually defined for them. All right, that's it. I think I've rambled enough. All right, ciao. I'm gonna go. Oh, and Carrie, ready? Bye, Max. And Carrie, ready? Here we go. Oh, if you like, sorry. I'm Beck Lane. This is Studio 120. If you'd like to help support Studio 120, there's a bunch of links down below. Ready? Here we go. Meow, meow, meow. Carrie? Meow, meow, meow. Ciao.